As you know, I was raised in Pulaski County, Kentucky. Somerset's the county seat of the county. Went to a small rural high school called Eubank, which is in the northern edge of the county. High school in 1956 through 60. Graduated in 1960. And Mr. Estes was my first ag teacher for my freshman and sophomore years. And of course I had 7th and 8th grade there in the high school building, and he started recruiting me 7th grade. "You taking ag next year, aren't you?" This kind of thing. And of course he proved to be quite a mentor to me through that. And even after I graduated, I didn't go to college right out of high school. Purchased a small farm and worked industry for about 3 years. And every time that, well, I'd go home and Dad'd say, "I've seen Mr. Estes at Somerset today." And he'd always say, "Has the boy started to college yet?" So after about 3 years of that, I decided, at that time I was working industry and punching the clock, 8 to 5. I said there must be a better way. So I quit all that and started college in 1963, University of Kentucky. So.
What kind of activities did you do when you were in high school? I mean, were you involved in any contests, officers, or anything?
Yeah, I was involved in chapter meeting every year. Was an officer 2 years. I was sentinel my junior year and vice president senior year. We were lucky enough to win the regional parliamentary procedure chapter meeting. My senior year, came to the state convention for the first time. And for a rural boy that's raised outside of Science Hill, I'd never been in a motel or a hotel before. And this was a big event. And I can remember during the competition, when I'd stand up, I couldn't hold my knees straight. I mean, it was a real challenging experience for someone at that age that hadn't been exposed to that, et cetera. But I think we wound up and finished second or third, so which we felt real good about. Mr. Estes felt real good about it. So, and then I was involved in beef cattle. We had a beef cattle and tobacco farm. I had 6 or 8 head of beef cows. Tended a little tobacco, and of course entered the proficiency contest in tobacco and had hay, and that was kind of my supervised experience program in high school. Started UK in 1963, and in the meantime I had gotten married, and I was married. I was a married student, lived off campus during that time, and spent 4 years getting my BS in agronomy. I was going to go to work for the Soil Conservation Service, but during that time, that's when the federal froze all the conservation jobs, and they weren't hiring anybody. And in the back of my mind, all the way through school, I said, I might like to be an agriculture teacher. And of course, I'd taken the necessary courses. Dr. Herbert Bruce was my advisor, so he seen that I got the necessary English and health and PE that you had to have to, not to get a degree in agronomy, but in order to teach, get a teacher certificate. So I enrolled in graduate school and got accepted, and did student teaching in the spring of 1968 at Clark County High School. And My first teaching job, or I guess my only teaching job, when I took the job at Bryan Station High School, which is in Fayette County, and teamed up with an experienced teacher by the name of Leonard Henson. And Mr. Henson been an experienced teacher. I guess I'm certainly glad I started out in a multi-teacher department with a teacher that had some experience. Because as a new teacher, you still make some of those first year mistakes, and he kept me from making many more, I'm sure. And so I taught there for 6 years, and then in 1974, I took a job in Frankfort as a supervisor in the Division of Vocational Education and in the Agricultural Education Unit as a supervisor. Was in that position 3 years. And in '77, Mr. Woody Cox left the state and went to the national office of head of alumni, and I became the executive secretary of FFA. Stayed in that position until 90, 16 years. And then in '90 became the state director of agricultural education and the state FFA advisor. Then retired in October of the year 2000. So that seems like it's about 3 years ago, but it's been 14. So time flies.
What were some of the different changes that you saw in the FFA from the time you started till you retired 26 years later?
I can remember having the first female in class. The first 2 or 3 years, I thought there was no boys in
No girls.
no girls in the class. So so that has certainly changed down through the years. Of course, the curriculum has changed. You know, we had agriculture 1, 2, 3, and 4. That was the curriculum. And before I left, it had been changed that you know, we were agribusiness 1, agribusiness 2, and then ag mechanics and some other courses began to come in. And then went through a time, you remember, block schedules, 2-hour blocks of agriculture. And being a single teacher department, I never did go that route because of just a single teacher department. I mean, that happened 3 years after I was there. Mr. Henson retired. So, but the curriculum has really changed. You know, you've got greenhouse now and small animal science. So much broader curriculum now. And of course, the student enrollment has reflected that. The FFA activities have reflected that. When I became executive secretary, I believe at the, for example, at the State Fair, we had 4 judging events, was all. And now there's 12 or 13 probably.
What about impromptu speaking events?
Oh, impromptu speaking, I guess when I was teaching, there was 4. Now there's 9 or 10, something like that. So a lot more opportunities have been made available for students since I started teaching.
During your 26 years, even and since, what kind of improvements have you seen at the FFA camp?
That's a huge increase. In my time in Frankfort, we've seen a new administration built with an auditorium that's winterized. We've seen a dormitory added that's year-round heat air conditioning that has come along just in the last 4 years. a new addition to the cafeteria and completely redone the kitchen. So
And
that facility has really changed.
air-conditioned classrooms.
Air-conditioned classrooms and all the cottages have been rewired so that a teacher can bring a air conditioner from home if they want to and use it. So things have really changed there.
Mr. Estes, in the end, had a significant major impact on your life, didn't he?
He sure did that. You know, as I said, he's maybe one of the real reasons that I finally decided to give it a shot. You know, I was salutatorian in my high school class, so he knew that I had potential. And another thing, I guess, you know, back then, the veterans classes, my father, World War II in the Navy, come back out of the Navy, and of course, on the GI Bill, attended Mr. Estes's veterans classes. And I can remember Dad telling me, and I guess I was 8, 9 years old then, but Mr. Estes helped him do what he needed to do to paperwork, get the loan, and was instrumental in helping Dad buy his first 100-acre farm, $45 an acre. That had been 47, 48, something like that. And so my dad was a real supporter of Mr. Estes, and Mr. Estes had a big influence on him. And of course, Mr. Estes was the kind of guy that he made you feel important.
Very good. Tell me a little bit about how you've seen the state convention change from the time you started as a teacher till this day.
No comparison. When I started and became executive secretary, we were doing it in one room. You had 3 or 4 microphones. You couldn't turn the lights on or off. If you want to turn all the lights on and off, you took a broom handle, something where you could move them all and turn them all off, and you could turn them all back on. That was our lighting. And if you go in the convention hall today, they got all colored lights and video, and our light show back in those days was 2 of these big spotlights, you know, put one in each corner, and on the march-in ceremony, you move them around the room. That was that was our lighting. So a lot more pageantry and videos. It's a major production now. I'm just appalled when I sit in the audience now and watch what Mr. Davis and Mr. Colliff and the officers, what they're doing with the convention. Well, you know, we talked about camp a little. I had the opportunity to go to Leadership Training Center twice as a high school student between my sophomore and junior year and junior and senior year. And I remember the old cook there at that time was pretty strong in his diction, and a friend of mine, and we were playing ping pong, and we showed up to the steps when he shut the door for dinner that night and would not let us eat. You boys are supposed to have been here. And I remember being on a panel, and a lot of people will know the name Dr. Harold Binkley was working with us on that panel, and we had a point of view we had to make before the whole camp on Friday morning before we left. And well, I worked on that, scared to death. And but those were growing experiences.
As state director of Ag Ed, did you attend a lot of national meetings and that sort of thing?
Yes, we had, of course, as state director, we had the annual meeting with the national staff and education, and also the FFA would be part of it. So a lot of differences from state to state. And I guess we're fortunate, at least I always felt that I was fortunate to be from Kentucky and be involved in the kind of agriculture education program we had and the FFA that we had.